All right, we're back. Ministry of Inappropriate Footwork, winning against a setup I didn't fully understand.
A bit strange for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe they were planning to bring Navy Vexers and go armor tanked on those Sins, and they got forced out of it.
Kind of what it feels like to me.
Certainly looked like a setup that could be vulnerable to the specific bans of Vexer Navy Issue and Dominix.
Yeah. I mean, you maybe go Domi Navy Issue instead of Sin if you're armor
Yeah.
tanking. The advantage of the Sin in these setups is that it has the extra mid. I think that's shield tank is the only time I'd really bring Sins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
we've seen Sins in SCL as we discussed. There's a lot of confusion in stream chat about why would you bring Sin. We've seen it used effectively before. They're not a terrible ship for that, but I just don't think they were used effectively this time.
Yeah, they do have better shield tanks than other Domi variants, which is the reason you take them in this situation.
Bringing so few ships to a Tinker though this late in the tournament against a team that has brought up fairly solid setups though was a big risk they took.
Yeah, I wonder if dropping maybe a Gila for some assault frigates, E-War of some sort, something. You split one of those Gilas up into some smaller ships and maybe have better success.
And then sending your heavy drones.
While they
Trekking
were-
right across the field.
Well, they were way out there. Yeah, I don't know. That was a strange decision. If they would have waited a little bit longer, perhaps they would have been able to do something more. I mean, the Ministry of Inappropriate Footworks, Oneros did some interesting things.
Yeah,
and perhaps it'd be interesting to have a look at that.
Yeah, if we can bring up the tool and take a look at
I got
some.
something queued up here. We commented a little bit on that in Euros because we saw him getting neuted. He actually got within newt range of the Sins during that fight. So I've got it queued up around the point where he started getting neuted and so the trail and the path that he followed. It's definitely one where he wasn't right. There we go, I got it here. So the high blinking trail there is the entire path that this Aneros for Ministry of Inappropriate Footwork traveled. We've got the match moving again. This is after, by the way, we'd already seen the heavy drones for Darkness and Despair trying to move across the field and dying horribly. They'd all ended up dying around here.
Actually, quite interestingly, what we see, the Oneros pilot here, very well fought because he actually went and looped around his friendly ships in order to bring those heavy drones into the best damage range of the blasters. And he then accelerated. That's why he took so much damage at one point. During that loop, he slowed down in order to let the Proteuses track better and kill those heavy drones. Really great flying. But what we see here next is a little bit interesting.
Yeah, so right now it's just catching up. We have our crest information on the 1 minute delay, the same as the stream. So in our situation here, actually, we're just getting to it here. But this is the point where they dive in, where we're seeing the damaged ships for Footwork moving in. And you'll see the Sin there that's represented by this damage bar there, taking the ton of damage. But yeah, at this point, the Aneros had actually moved in very close, probably closer than we would have suggested. There wasn't really a lot of damp pressure on him, but in this case, it worked out fine. It may have been, Shadu suggested during the match, that he was trying to bait some damage.
Yes.
He obviously was tanking just fine. He baited some damage. The newts got on him, and after he got out of range, the newts switched over the Proteuses. So perhaps him taking some of those newts actually kept the Proteuses shooting longer.
Proteus are very cap hungry. The cruiser-sized capacitor against heavy newts, it's really painful to get neuted in Proteus, especially if you're not using one of your mid slots for cap injector, which with 3 mids in most standard Proteus setups, sometimes you can get 4. It's hard to squeeze one on if you want web scram and a prop mod. So that could be exactly what he was doing, trying to bait the newts off, let his Proteus apply their damage freely, and then move back out of range.
Considering how well he flew at the start of the tournament to kill those heavy drones, I think that's exactly what he did. He went there to bait them, get newts on him, and then moved right out of range and let those Proteuses close in and do massive damage.
Yeah, one
Really
of the big
great
differences
flying.
between this Tinker setup and the one that Hun ran, which is I think a much stronger version, is that the Hun one had all those tackle frigs. Didn't end up saving them, but Darkness and Despair didn't even have really the ability to get anything onto that Nero. So sure, he could get in and get neuted, but he could just casually slow boat out of there.
Well, congratulations to Ministry of Inappropriate Footwork. We do have CVA versus Darkside coming up, and we do have the team sheets to just take a look at these guys. We've of course seen CVA before today, adding the win against Scum, Darkside beating Hun Reloaded, Shadow Cartel, Darkness to Despair, and then losing to Hydra. So pretty impressive. But the match is ready. So Bach, who do you think is going to win?
You know, I talked earlier about the possible fatigue on CVA pilots, but there's also the opposite side. If they want a critical match, the pilots may be riding high and very excited. They're still in the mentality for the tournament. So I'm going to go CVA. Maybe they're going to ride their momentum.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't have expected like a couple weeks ago that I'd ever be making this choice, but I'm going to go with CVA as well in this match.
Yeah, I think Darkside this tournament has not lived up their previous performance, so CVA definitely has done well. I'm going to go with CVA.
You know what? I'm going to go with CVA as well. I mean, this is a vote with a heart. It would be fun to see them win.